Uno, doi, tre, test, test, test. Hello, chat. I'm a little bit early today. Already got a super chat. That's interesting. Here is $2 as I clean lemon juice out of my car mat. What do you need to clean the lemon juice out of your car mat? Does it like if you leave it there, does it just evaporate? I mean, your car will smell of lemon. That's not really bad. So, huh? Right. We're going to be talking about some interesting subjects today. Apparently, Japan is starting to self-censor. There's an interesting article, which is something that I'll talk about on my secondary channel. But it's called "From Japan to the World: How to Translate a Game," right? And of course, they talk about LGBT representations. Like it's pivotal. It's paramount. It is of great importance for the market to properly represent LGBTQ themes in your video game. Like if you put your hand on a pencil and you move it to a paper, the first thing that you must do if you want to show the freedom of expression is to represent the LGBTQ issues the exact same way that the Democrats in the United States of America want these issues to be represented. As a human being living in Japan, you are not allowed, because the Americans are constantly questioning themselves, like, how can we allow someone to have creative freedom without representing the LGBTQ issues as we decide that they should represent. So the people in the White House want that the entire world, the entire human population, in their art, in their countries, to represent the themes that the Democrats decide that needs to be represented. So, due to this, you have like no longer acceptable, right? It's unacceptable. If Joe Biden doesn't like it, people in Japan should find it unacceptable. And you're not allowed to have like anything like caricatures with LGBTQ characters, right? Like if you want a caricature, the straight cisgender white man is there to serve. That is his purpose in media. That is what he is there to do, to be a caricature. Everything else, not acceptable. All right, so you need, as a writer, to understand this is okay, this is not okay. Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden has decided to be so. Now, you also have like other things, such as changes that focus on alcohol, politics, or religion, right? Cultural things differ. The Americans demand that when it comes to alcohol, politics, or religion, right, Joe Biden doesn't like that. You need to understand, Joe Biden and Larry Fink, together strong as one. Together they are one. They are like the dyad of the force, right? Larry Fink from BlackRock, Joe Biden from the Democrats. They shake hands like the Predator handshake. And together they will use American imperialism to dominate the planet. When there are people dressed in black boots and big leather coats in Europe, that could bring in mind the Nazi uniform. See, they understand Europeans so well. The people that are advising these Japanese companies, they know me as a European. If I see big leather coats and black boots, I lived through this. The Nazis are coming, right? And if I see an anime that has the Nazis, I will clearly not watch, because I'm a European. I'm so glad that they have me in mind. With global release dates now the norm, this decision must be made under deadlines tighter than before. Efforts have been made to understand the needs of the English-speaking world. See, the English-speaking world has needs, and Japan needs to satisfy them. One of the things that they talk about is Me Too, right? So, like, because in Hollywood, the perverts of Hollywood, the liberal perverts of Hollywood, can't be law-abiding citizens, Japan needs to start censoring the cleavage in anime. I'm not kidding. Like, this is the logic. I mean, how can I contradict Joe Biden and Larry Fink together, strong as one? They have decided that because the liberal perverts in Hollywood are unable to be like the rest of us law-abiding, Japan needs to cover up the titty. So, as you can tell from my voice, as you can tell from my level of excitement, this has upset me a little bit, because it seems that this is the punishment for competing with DC and Marvel. Like, you are not allowed, right? Like, how can we allow someone to compete with the mouse? Haha. Like, someone made cartoons that were more popular and more acceptable and more commercially viable around the world than Walt Disney. So, of course, America has to protect the interests of the mouse. And due to that, it's like, look, if the mouse isn't going to show titty, by God damn it, you won't either. Japan is being coerced into woke idiocy. Can't wait to see how long it will take for the industry to shake it off. Kumar Legion will prevail. Well, apparently there are like Japanese eroge studios on Twitter right now. And they're saying that Japanese banks do not allow them to open an account. And this is a very smart play. You know, if I was to do it, if I wanted to censor art, this is how I would start. You start with porn. Because most people aren't going to defend it. Like, most people are embarrassed. And you get your foot into the door, right? Like, you're normalizing. You need to understand, like, the left knows its shit, right? It's not that they're dumb. When they say that sexist jokes normalize sexism or racist jokes normalize racism, when you have bank accounts that basically say, oh, you as a company, what are you doing? You're writing manga. What type of manga? Oh, eroge? Well, we're not going to allow you to have a bank account. You're normalizing the idea that banks can look into the content that you're making, right? So, like, if you're making something legal and it's art, then you're basically saying that it's okay for the banks to look into the type of art you are making, to analyze your expression, and then to say that you don't get to have a bank account. Now, normally, you know, you could say, well, of course, my private company can do whatever it wants. But the push is for CBDC. The push is for cashless societies. The push is for electronic transactions only. So in a world with electronic transactions only, without a bank account, well, you can't survive. Right? So they know this. And then you don't need to constrain people by passing laws. You don't need to constrain people by threatening them with jail time. You can just get people to do whatever the fuck you want by threatening them to terminate their bank accounts. And this is something that happened in the UK to, what's his name? Nigel Farage. Yeah, like we saw what happened with him. We saw what happened to the truckers in Canada. And it's also something that's happening in China to political dissidents. Right? Like, again, passing laws is so backwards, reactionary, right? You need politicians to risk their reputation, and maybe they're not going to get voted again, or maybe the law isn't popular. So passing votes is difficult, right? But like, just having policy at a bank level that tells you, okay, well, you're not allowed to do this anymore, because if you do it, you lose your bank account. A lot more simpler. And people are easily constrained. A lot more easy to constrain people by threatening them that their bank account is being taken down. You know, because like, if you're threatening them with legal action, oh, well, so, you know, they can get a lawyer, they can defend themselves, and they can demand evidence against them. But if the bank just shuts down their account and it says like violation of TOS and they're incredibly vague, what are people going to do? They're going to do jack shit, right? So it's a far better and more effective constraining method to just tell people that they're not going to have a bank account anymore. They act like communists who threaten to cut off the food supply. Well, ironically, like, why do you think the EU is right now like passing more and more regulations on the farmers, making it very difficult for them to keep in business, and some of them have to sell the land, and most of the land is being bought up by these mega farming companies? It's because, like, if you have like 2 or 3 mega farming companies, then you can just do what the communists did and just threaten people to cut off their food supply. You don't need an army anymore, right? If people misbehave in Hungary, then Germany can just say, well, you better start behaving again, or we cut off your food supply. And then what are they going to do? Well, they're going to start behaving. Dungeons and Dragons was amazing. How the Democrat and the Purple Woman denied the obvious when it was in front of their face. Yeah, I like teasing Dev a little bit in my private time, and I reached to like this really interesting conclusion, right? Like, Dev is absolutely bewildered when I say that I don't need evidence to believe in something. Like this really mind blows him, and I think it's because of like the atheist Redditor mentality, right? Like when you go on Reddit and you have like the mentality where it's like, oh my god, but where's the evidence, right? Like where is the evidence? And it's like, well, I don't need evidence to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? Like you don't really need to get 2 sticks in front of me and bring 2 more sticks and we add them together and we count how many are in total, right? There are certain things that I have, with all of my years of experience, it's kind of like playing hangman, like for me, life is like a game of hangman. You don't really need to see all of the letters in order to guess the word. I mean, sure, like you can be wrong, and it's not 100% foolproof method, but it's a method that allows me to think much faster and figure things out before everyone else. So, like, if you have hangman, I need like 2 or 3 letters, and then I can guess the word. I do not need to play the whole fucking game. But someone like Dev, right, like he wants every single letter in the word. He will not guess, like, it's people who annoy you. Right? Like he goes like A, G, E, S. Thank you, Zeddy, for the gift. I appreciate it. Commy Dev Dash Bullet is the new meta. Dodge build. Commy Dev Dodge build. Okay. I've started off lower class, so it's in my blood to get the best, cheapest. I see. Reddit usually denies the value of common sense. Yeah, no, like, seriously, like, think about it this way, right? Like, if you're playing Hangman, and it's a common word, and you notice, like, you just ask for 2 letters, and you already know the word. If you guess it, right, like it saves you time. You don't really need to keep playing if you're... And it's kind of like that, like someone who plays Hangman all the time is going to be more experienced at figuring it out the word than someone that's new. So you have someone that's new that like he needs every single fucking letter in order to... It's like, okay, that's one way to do it, I guess. But don't tell me that my way is wrong. I mean, sure, my way doesn't have like 100% effectiveness. Like sometimes I can be incorrect. But overwhelmingly, I think that I'm quite accurate with my predictions. He wants all the letters that if it spells out something he doesn't like, he will obfuscate. Yeah, no, like, the thing is, and I said this in a previous stream, it's not Dev, it's Canadians in general. They have faith in the government, right? Because if the government is evil, then the next logical step would be you need an uprising against the government, right? And for a Canadian, that is unthinkable. Like, they will just not admit to that, right? Which, by the way, like that is also not something that's necessary. Like you don't need to rise up against an evil government. Like, people from Russia know that their government is evil and they don't rise up, right? People under socialist rule. People in Mexico, like, they're aware that there are problems in Mexico and they don't rise. Like, that's, but the Canadian mindset is like, no. If the government ever turns evil, it is our duty to. So anyway, right? Like with that out of the way, when your entire belief system, when your entire life is centered around the concept that government good, it's kind of like a religious person that believes that God is real, right? Now, hypothetically speaking, let's assume for a second that God isn't. You take a time machine and you send the person back into the past when the Bible is written, and you show him that there is no revelation, there is no magic, there is no divine miracle. It's just like some human being that's writing the Bible, right? Like, that person is just going to have a mental breakdown. He's not going to understand that, like, his entire life has been a lie. Like, he's just going to try his best in order to reject what you're showing him. I mean, okay, like maybe the example isn't good because there may be actual Christians in the chat. Imagine if you go, okay, you go to ancient Greece, right? And you take a person that's a true believer. Like he literally believes in the gods of ancient Greece. And he does, like, everything that he's supposed to. He does, he brings his, like, his animal, like his goat, to the slaughter so that he can dedicate it to the temple, and he donates to the temple. And he behaves in a way in accordance to Greek law. And you take that person, you take that believer, and you bring him up onto the Mount Athos, right? Sorry, you bring him up to the Mount Olympus. So now you're at the peak of Mount Olympus, and you're showing him that there's no temple, there's no gods, right? Like, that person is going to have a mental breakdown. Like, he's not going to believe what you're showing him. He's going to be like, no, this is a mistake. He's going to rationalize it. He's going to say, no, the gods are here. They're just in hiding. Like, we just did the worst transgression ever. We set foot on Mount Olympus, so now we're cursed or whatever. Like, he's not going to, he's not going to accept the fact that his entire life, his entire existence, his principles, his belief system, his community, like they're all delusional and they're all living a lie. Right? But like, seriously, imagine this, right? Like, imagine you're in ancient Greece and everyone believes in it, right? If you were to be taken on Mount Olympus, then you would realize that everyone in your society is living a delusion, right? Like everyone is deluded, everyone is crazy. Like, people are praying to things that aren't real. Like, when they're praying to Ares to guide them in war, or when they're praying to Poseidon to navigate their ships, they're insane. They're living an insanity. It's a delusion, right? Like, you're sitting on Mount Olympus. There are no gods. And yet, every single friend of yours, every single person that you know, everyone is living this insanity. And it's like, you have two choices. Either you accept it, or you choose to keep living in the Matrix. It's pretty much what it is. So, it's kind of like the same with Canadians, right? That believe that the government is good. For them to believe that the government is evil and malevolent, it would be like taking someone on Mount Athos, on Mount Olympus, and showing them that everything is false, and that their entire life is wrong. Hello, Baxed Monkey. Welcome to the show. That's the reason they never gone to Olympus to check. Well, here's the thing, right? We don't know if anyone actually did go to Olympus. I mean, how would you know, right? Because, like, back then, people didn't leave writings unless they were, like, nobles or rich people. Like, maybe someone did go up there and checked at some point. But like, no one would believe them, right? Like, if you have 5 people that go up the mountain, and they're coming down, and it's like, yeah, we went up the mountain, and what did you find? Nothing. People would say, oh, you're lying to us. This is like a test from the gods. The gods must have erased your memory to test our faith. Like, there is no way that you can convince people. Again, it's the same thing, right? Like, as I mentioned before, it's like, if they were to accept that, it would mean that their entire life was a lie. So, like, if 5 people actually did go up on Mount Olympus, when they came back down, no one would believe them. Like what evidence can you even bring? Seriously, think about it, right? Like, if you're in ancient Greece and you go on top of the mountain, how can you prove to the people down there that you actually went on top? You don't have smartphones. You can't take a picture, right? Even if you were to paint the scenery, they may say that you're lying. So, yeah, there's literally no way whatsoever that you would convince people that you went on top of the mountain. And pretty much, I'm sure that if you were to go on top of the mountain, they would still make a claim. It's like, well, yeah, but like, maybe the gods live in a different dimension. It's like, it's the same mountain, but like, the realm of the gods, you need to go through a portal, and that's how you enter, and the portal is hidden. Anyway, could it be that it also occasionally there is value hidden in the ritual? Yeah, of course. I mean, the ritual may have, like, value. I mean, you know, when you talk about Christianity, like, I don't believe in God, but I do believe that the philosophy of Christianity, which has withstood more than 2,000 years, has many things of value and merit to it, especially since it has deep connections to the Stoicism ideology. So, yeah. Do you think that the king will have the same reaction as the Greeks in denial when he finds out about his wife? I mean, if you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, for those of you who don't watch, Sargon has a campaign, and apparently the wife, the queen, right, is probably cheating on the king. We don't know, like, if they're cheating or not. I don't know, like, what type of game Sargon wants the queen to play. Like, it's too early to tell. Um, but usually, like, if you go to a man and you tell him that his wife is cheating, um, it depends what the man thinks of the wife, right? Like if the man knows that the wife is promiscuous, like most men probably know, right? Like most men know that the wife is shady. You know, that doesn't allow him to go for and read what's on her phone. Is gone from the house for many hours. Like men would suspect, right? So if you have a wife like that, and someone tells you, "Hey, she's cheating," then it kind of confirms what you think, and you try to believe it. But if the wife hides it very well, right, and you're being told as the husband that the wife is unfaithful, then many men are going to try to not believe it. They're going to act like Dev, right? Like they're going to try to make excuses. They're going to try to rationalize it in a way that, well, actually, maybe, you know, like maybe that guy was lying to me. Maybe he wasn't entirely honest. My wife would never, right? So it depends. Usually, like, yeah, you can actually have the man be angry with the person giving the news. Like they may think that well, it's clearly the messenger that's the problem. The messenger is just being a person that wants me to be mad at my wife for no reason. My husband would jump all over me despite no evidence. I think it's a Meghan and Charles situation in Sargon's campaign. Nah, I don't think so. I think as well, if you demystify Christianity and use it just as a set of rules to live by, don't murder, don't steal. See, this is another thing. It's like most people, when they think about Christianity, it's like don't murder, don't steal. Like that's so basic, bitch. You know, there are other things on Christianity that have more merit than don't murder, don't steal. Like for instance, and this comes from Stoicism. There's a lot of I think it's in the Proverbs. It basically says that you shouldn't concern yourself with things that you can't affect. This is part of what the Stoic teaches us, right? So like the Stoics, they try to teach people that in order to have like a calm and rational mind, you should stop concerning yourself with things that are outside of your area of influence. So for instance, it's in your area of influence. Let's say I wanna travel to the United States, right? So it's in my area of influence to make sure that I arrive at the airport on time, that I study on what I'm allowed to carry and what I'm not allowed to carry in a plane, so I don't get stopped at security. That I take some extra money for the trip, so that in case something goes wrong, I have a backup plan, right? Like these are things that I can control. What I can't control, however, is the weather, right? So like I arrive at the airport on time, and the plane is being late. There is absolutely no reason for me to think about that. There is nothing that I can do to influence the weather. So due to that, the Stoics teach us that it's best not to think about it. It's just you erase it from your head. You don't concern yourself whatsoever. Like for instance, right? I'm submitting my game to Steam. Right, so I did everything possible in order to be on Steam's guidelines and follow their TOS. But more than that is not up to me, right? So like once the game is submitted, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to say, oh, what will happen if Steam bans it? Oh, what? There's no point, right? Like that's just extra stress. That does me no good. You can't influence the situation anymore. It's out of your hands, right? So you need to stop thinking about it. Just allow time to pass, and then you see the result. Of course, what you can do is like, all right, well, what if Steam doesn't sell my game? What are the other options? And it's like, okay, well, there's other websites, there's other publishers. It's not going to be as profitable. It's probably going to severely affect my monetization strategy, but It's not the end of the world. I mean, hopefully we can make even, and right. So basically, yeah. Wait. So sex with Hitler is okay, but this game is not going to be. The thing with Steam is that when it comes to art, especially anime art, it's very subjective, right? So Steam will say, you're not allowed to have any underage characters in your game, which is fair enough, right? I don't want to have underage character in my game either. But underage can mean 17, right? So like 17, if you have a character like Uzaki-chan that is short, right? Even if she's like, in the anime, she goes to a university, even if like she has big tits, the simple fact that she is a short character, like she's half the size of the guy, is enough for some people on Twitter to consider her being a child, right? Even if story-wise she is 23, even if story-wise she is an adult and she's got big tits and everything like that, right? All it takes is for a moderator to look at the art and say, okay, well, this looks like a child to me, so therefore, right? My Hero Academia, another example. So if you look at My Hero Academia, let me bring up the female characters. There are these characters. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a picture. My Hero Academia female characters costumes. Right. I need to find the costumes one. Not cosplay. God damn it. Is this the one? I think this is the one, yeah. What's the name of the chick that pulls swords from her tits? I forgot the name of her. See, this is what happens when you use Google. Like back then, I would just Google my Hero Academia female characters and I would get exactly what I want. There we go. You just gotta keep typing it in different ways. Okay, so finally, holy shit. This character right here, like this is what a lot of people on Twitter are freaking out about, right? Like there are so many people on Twitter, they're like, oh my god, she is but a child! But a child! This is a child, like if my house was on fire, I would rush to rescue the picture of her because she is but a... You know, like complete madness. There's nothing sexual in this anime, first and foremost. Just nothing sexual whatsoever, right? I don't think they even kiss. I don't think there's even a kiss. Meanwhile, I grew up with Gabriel from Xena, right? And she was also but a child, played by but a real actress. Oh my god, all the slasher movies from my childhood and American Pie and all that. Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones came out recently, right? And you had, like, Daenerys, who was but a child. But for some reason, it's the anime, right? Like, this is their problem. And you look at this character. Now, the thing is, like, look, you show it to like, some teenager. You show it to an 18-year-old. And if they like it, you're like, ha! Fucking pedophile. And you're like, what do you mean? It's like, how would I know? What? Going on the Wikipedia page, we can definitely conclude that the writer has made her to be 16. You have lusted after a child, and therefore you should be in prison. We should lock you up. Society should not let you see the light of day. It should be literally like you type the N-word on a keyboard. You know, like this is the mentality from people on Twitter. What more can you say? What more can you say? The thing is, this is, first of all, like, even in America, 16 is of legal age in many states, right? Like, this is like something around the world that is true. It's only the Anglosphere that's like, oh my god, 18 is No, in most places it's 16. Like, I refuse to believe that if an 18-year-old has a 17-year-old girlfriend, he's a pedophile. No, sorry. Like, if that is your take, sure. But not in my country. Anyway. The thing is, like, this is subjective, right? Like, if a Steam moderator looks like this, and the Steam moderator thinks that she is 17, your game gets banned. If a Steam moderator looks at this and thinks that she is 18, your game gets allowed. So, like, you know, you as a game developer who's investing tens of thousands of dollars, you can ask your artists to do their best in order to depict an 18-year-old. You can write the game so that all the characters are 18. But more than that, what can you do? Right? So this is like something that I don't concern myself with. Like, I did my best. All the characters are over the age of 18. I asked the artists when I commissioned it to make sure that they accurately draw characters that are of age. But more than that, it's subjective, right? So, it's but a drawing. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole conversation is against the male gaze. It's not even about, like, oh, she's but a child. Because even if you make absolutely sure that everyone is over the age of 18, then the next argument is drawings can't consent. Right? And then it's checkmate. Like, the moment you agree that drawings can consent, you're basically saying that the male gaze is wrong. Because they will... Like, you need to understand, they are livid because anime is competing with Disney. That's literally what it is about. This is why they're fuming at Pal World. Like, any type of indie, any type of outsider that is creating entertainment and is competing with Disney is going to get people on Twitter outraged. It is but a drawing. Also, you're more likely to find these people on the registry. I did saw the website, yes. I'm aware. We didn't have this conversation before. Why now? It seems insane to me. That is true though. Yeah, like before, it was acceptable, you know, that as long as the drawing has boobs, then it's fine. You know, like this was the 2016 era. It was like, look, if the drawing has big tits, then it's not a lolly, right? I mean, this is how you differentiate within the communities. But now it's like, well, no, actually, if it's 17, and it's like, okay, so how do you define a 17-year-old drawing? Like what because like if I want to commission my artist to draw me something, like how do I know that what they are drawing is acceptable? Right? Like, what are the standards? According to the Italian Supreme Court, apparently, it needs to have pubes and it needs to have big tits. And I'm like, okay. See, at least now I know the standard. I need to give her pubes. All right, fine. She'll have pubes. The attack on manga and anime has intensified in 2023. Yeah, it's literally all about competing with Disney. That's my take. It's about competing with American hegemony. Luckily, if anime goes down, now South Korea is willing to take the charge. So South Korea with games like Nikke, right? They're absolutely dominating the PC industry, and the phone industry. And surprisingly, China. Of all the places, you have the Chinese that are now making, stuff like, what's it called? Genshin Impact. I mean, they know where the body is, you know, and they don't give a fuck about people crying on Twitter. People crying on Twitter, let them buy their own shit. If they don't like it, buy something else. Buy the American slop. Go buy Disney stuff. I'm sure the new Star Wars is going to be great. Yeah, they're not even arguing in good faith, but you need to bother, because what they're doing is like they're trying to get the normies on their side, right? So like when they say it's but a child, they're basically trying to get the normies on their side and be like, oh, look, these other people are against the child. But that's not the case. You need to point out, it's like, hold on a little bit. You don't really care about it. You care about the male gaze. And the normies like the male gaze as well. Yeah, I mean, the thing with anime, you know, like I would get if it was like a photorealistic representation of children, then yeah, that would be disgusting. I definitely get that. You know, like if you were to have like AI stuff, and yeah, like that would be concerning. But like most of the anime characters don't look like women anyway. I mean, my female animator, I keep saying this because it blew my mind when she said it. Like the chick that animates for me, she basically said, "Oh my God, V, your succubus are so hot," and I'm like, "So what? Like you're gay?" And she's like, "No, because real women don't look like this." I'm like, okay. Bro, you can find charts with age of consent from all countries. If you pull that up, you'll notice that 18 is a minority. Yeah. Okay, so the reason that I'm actually talking about this is because it connects to the stuff that I want to talk about in the video. So, I was shown this picture by a leftist, and it says child labor is back in action in America. And I was like, what the fuck? You know, like this is concerning, right? Like child labor is back in America. Nani desu ka? Like what are we seeing? So we're seeing this person, and they're working at Burger King. Now I've no idea how old they are. Like it doesn't say. Sure, they look very young, but like let's see what is up, right? Like the child, as you can see, 7.3 million views.
What are your specials?
We have a 2 for $7 on our original chicken sandwiches and a 2 for $5 on our Whopper Juniors and our BK wraps. And also you can get 6 cookies for $3.50.
May I just have one cheeseburger to go, please?
One cheeseburger, is that all for you today?
That would be all.
All right. That would be $2.11.
$2.11?
It's $1.99 plus tax, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Cheeseburgers at McDonald's were used to be 69 cents when I worked there for my first job. Hello. What?
If you want any napkins, they're right over there.
What is wrong with this? Right? So a leftist showed me this. And they're acting, it's like, oh my God, it is but a child. Labor laws are back in. And I'm like, what the fuck? I worked my first job when I was 16. It wasn't at a McDonald's, it was at a KFC. And I gotta say, I had a blast. I'm so glad that my country was devoid of communists at the time, so that they didn't take away the joy from me, the joy of being independent. Like finally, I was having my own money. I knew how it's like to have a job. I was aware how it's like to be financially independent and not have to ask mommy and daddy for money. It was a summer job, by the way, you know, and this is like why they will say, well, like minimum wage, livable wage. No, you weren't supposed to live off that. I worked there for a couple of months during a summer vacation, and it was like one of the most fun periods of my life. And it wasn't like just that, because after that I got some more jobs, right? So like, what exactly is the problem with this? Like, it doesn't prevent the kid from learning the LGBTs at school. Right? Like, he can still benefit from the best thing that American education has to offer, which is to study the LGBTs, right? Like, he can still do that. When the summer vacation is down, right? He stops having the job and he goes to school. What is the problem? You know, like, I'm genuinely baffled that there's 7.3 million people being outraged. Oh my God. So I looked it up. And it says that in America, labor laws allow people at the age of 14 to have a job, only that you need to like give them special working conditions, right? So like not all the jobs, and they can only work part-time. And this is between the age of 14 and 16. After 16, they can be fully employed, right? So the problem is that the morality on Twitter is that everything that's younger than 35 is a kid. That's what people on Twitter think. And they think that children can consent to gender reassignment surgery, but they can't consent to getting a job. Right? It's like that, isn't it? And it's baffling because, again, like, I thought that maybe Romania is backwards. Like, maybe, you know, like, in my country, I could get a job at 16, and I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, maybe in America it's not like that. But then I looked it up, and it's actually, it's even more permissive in the United States than it is in Romania. Again, like, in Romania, I don't think you can hire someone at 14. But in the US, you can. And I also learned, by the way, that taxation is theft. Yes, during my first job. I didn't understand, like, why is it on my flyer? Why does it say that I have such a huge wage, but when I'm getting paid such a tiny wage? What is going on? And then my dad explained it to me. And it's like, the government needs to take money. And like, oh, so they're stealing. By the way, there's people that will say, well, hold on, V, you know, taxation isn't theft because you need roads. You need roads. And I'm like, okay, so every single fucking cent that I pay for fat politicians, that is the theft, right? I mean, sure, you know, you need roads, you need police officers, fine, yeah. You need the fire department, okay, but everything else is theft, isn't it? Everything else. Like, when the government donates foreign aid to Africa or something, that is theft. No, let me feel the charity. Let me donate to Africa. Don't take my money by force and donate it to other people without asking me. No, that is theft. Right? So it's fine. No, I know the argument now. It's like, oh, but like the roads. Yeah, sure, the roads, fine. But is the government only taking for the roads? Is it just the roads that get paid from my tax? No. Okay. The roads are terrible where I'm at. I want my money, lol. We don't need taxes to build roads. The market can build roads. No, actually, you do need taxes to build roads. Unironically, like, private roads aren't very sustainable. And it's so fucking annoying. Like, there are places where you have, like, private roads, and you have to stop every single time. It's like, oh, you veer left, you stop, you pay a fine. You keep driving, you pay a fine. You turn right, another fine. It's annoying. No, it's fine. The government, you know, if the government would only take money for the roads, if only they would take taxes for the roads and the police, you wouldn't even notice it. It would be such a tiny percentage that you wouldn't even feel it. Yeah, the toll roads, they're annoying as fuck. I'm telling it right now. They're one of the most annoying things that you can possibly imagine. And they cause, like, such huge queues. Once drones are ubiquitous, roads will be less necessary. I don't think you can use drones in order to carry, like, a truck worth of cargo. Like, most people don't understand. It's like, well, look, food doesn't sprout from your supermarket. You still need a truck to deliver it, right? And you can't deliver shit by drones. I mean, yeah, of course, you know, you have Amazon food delivery. And by the way, if you would have, like, drones everywhere, imagine what happens when one breaks and actually hits in someone's head. Like, you have a drone that actually, like, you know, runs out of power or something like that, and it falls into someone's head. Roads would probably be better if the roads were privatized. Also, the police needs to go back to being local for the community. No, I agree. Like, one of the biggest problems with swatting, because, like, the media talked about it recently. One of the biggest problems for swatting is that you have, like, a paramilitary force that the feds use that have no roots and connection to that particular community. Of course, like, the problem with having, like, local police, it's like, what do you do in a place like New York, right? Where you have, like, tens of millions of people living in a small strip of land. Like, what is, like, how does the local police look like that, you know? No, the police is necessary, right? Because, like, a lot of people say private police. You have the Pinkertons in the United States. You know what the problem with the private police is? That every single time you pay them to investigate someone, they would find that person guilty. Imagine that. Like, almost 100% rate of guilt. And it's also the fact, like, why should the private police have access into my house? Like, it's my private property. With what right would any police officer have to come into my house? But the thing is, like, in order to do police work, Sometimes you have a warrant for someone's arrest, and you need to actually do go into their house and arrest them. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I do agree that public police is better, though. But of course, you can have good public police and bad public police. New York City is 8 million. I didn't know that. I thought it's bigger. I genuinely thought it's bigger. But still, 8 million is still too many for the local police. Like what? How would that look like? The thing is, like, when you live in a town or you live in a village, it's really different. Like in a village, almost everyone knows everybody, right? So like if you live in a village, every single person knows almost everyone else. But if you live in a small town, you already start to be like, okay, well, I don't know who this person is. I don't know who that person is. And if you live in a city, you don't know fuck all. Like in a city, there were people that lived in my building, like in my tenant. But like I was living in a high rise. I think it was like 12 floors or 11. I forgot. And you don't get to know all the neighbors. You know, like. But in a village, you do know all the neighbors. Largest police force in the nation, 30K. We need more minarchism. Well, you're not going to get it. It's not like the people in power will agree with you and say, you know what? Yeah, maybe there's too many of us. Let's step down. Did the US declare war? It should be very simple since you know what words all about. You know how the United States is supposed to enact wars. The thing is, like, most nations don't declare war anymore. I think like the last nation that did declare war is Israel. Like Israel actually, no, seriously, Israel did have like a formal declaration of war towards Palestine. They were like, yes, we're at war. But other than that, historically speaking, I think like World War II was the last war that nations were formally declaring war on each other. The Vietnam War wasn't a war. The South Korean War wasn't a war. Like you didn't have like declarations there. It was like a peacekeeping force or some shit. So the last time the U.S. declared war formally was World War II. And now, being an American is so fucking surreal. Like, you just wake up one day and you find out that your government is bombing another nation that you can't point on the map. There's no debate, there's no discussion, even the media doesn't talk about it. Like I will tell you why the US is bombing the Houthis. Like, that is very easy to explain. But, again, there's no Congress approval, there's no discussions. It's like, one day you're just bombing them. So like, okay. The U.S. is a very tolerant nation, right? Like, it tolerates a lot of shit. There's terrorist attacks that can happen on the U.S. soil and the U.S. won't go to war. There's many things, you know, they preach tolerance until you fuck with the boats. I don't know what is up with the boats. Like, I genuinely don't know why, but they're the sacred cow of the West. Like the moment you fuck with the boats is the moment that the U.S. is not nice anymore. There were like videos back in the day where you had like Apache helicopters that would open fire on those little rafts from Somalia. You know, like they had like just a couple of logs that they would tie together and they were LARPing as pirates and shit. And you had like pictures on the internet with Apache helicopters going like brrr, brrr, and that was it. That was just so. But even then, right? Like when you look at the whole shit, there was an article in the press today. It's like the United States did warn the Houthis that you're going to get bombed, right? And it's like it's so fucking fake as well. It's like the U.S. is basically telling them, it's like, okay, fuck off, we're going to attack you. And I genuinely think it's not mostly for posturing. It's like the people in the Middle East are telling their people, it's like, oh, look how strong we are. We get to fuck with the Americans. And then the Americans go over there and they're like, okay, can you please move away now so that we can throw a couple of rockets? Okay, thank you. And then they get to tell back home, okay, well, problem solved, mission accomplished, victory. You know, it's... There is a reason why the Houthis are attacking the boats. I don't care what the reason is. Like, let me put it this way. You don't fuck with the boats. It's simple. Like, America's strong. Tsuyoi. You, weak. You fuck with the boats, you get the empire. It's not like... I'm sure you must have a reason. I'm sure they have, like, the best reason on Earth. But if you fuck with the boats, you're fucked. This is, like, no empire can survive if they do not control their naval trade. Hold on. Somalian pirates, Japan happened. Yeah, like, Japan also didn't want to trade with the Americans, and they got the black ships. No, but it is what it is, right? It's not fair. Like, there's no, like, oh, it's about fairness or... No. The rule is simple. There is no exception to this rule. Do not touch the boats. It's a sacred cow. It's kind of like in India, you know? You don't mess with the cows. Like, if the cow gets on your property and is aggressive, then there's no excuse. No, none whatsoever. You do not mess with it. Yeah, you fuck with the boats, you get the empire. And this was true in all administrations, not just the Biden administration, all of them. Every single one. Well, yeah, ships are the big money. Like, think about it, what happened during the pandemic, right? When you had the blockade and stuff. Like look at how living conditions in the United States deteriorated dramatically. Like, the moment something bad happens with the boats, because here's the problem with the boats, right? It's not that they're, like, plundering one boat and they're causing some economic loss. Because that's true, right? Like, they do cause economic loss if they mess with one merchant ship. But if they create enough panic to get the entire merchant trade route to take a long detour, well, now they're fucking with the supply chain. Now it's more expensive to get stuff. Now you have, like, a bottleneck, and all of the other production lines get fucked. So that's why they can't afford to allow the boats being messed with. You know, like you, even the press doesn't talk much. Like, again, there were, like, times, you look at what's happening with Israel and Gaza, right? And every single time you get to see more pictures of children on Twitter. But with the U.S., when they went ham on the Somalian pirates, I mean, those individuals were like village level technology with some, like, little dinghies that they were trying to go after merchant ships. Man, like, the Americans showed no mercy. Like, usually they will give warnings. No, like, they messed with the boats. No. And I looked at the armada that they sent. Holy fucking shit. It was like 10 naval destroyers. I think it was like the biggest military fleet that I ever seen since World War II. And that was just the Americans, because they were supposed to rally with the British fleet as well. It took 20 years to fight the Afghanistan, and we lost. You expect Ukraine to defeat Russia. I don't think Ukraine is going to defeat Russia. I think, like, what the United States want is for the conflict to continue as long as possible to create attrition in Russia. I think that's the military objective. I don't think, like, they really care that much either way. Like, right now, the United States has... I don't know how to put it so that I don't get misinterpreted, but yeah, like from the point of view of the United States, like, cynically speaking, this conflict was it wasn't detrimental for them, right? Like, no U.S. soldier died. Russia has been crippled economically. They are also now a diplomatic joke. I mean, they're kind of like Pakistan. They have nukes, but, like, who's going to take them seriously if you can't even do the special military operation? I don't see, like, the negative for the United States. The negative is definitely for Ukraine. But at the end of the day, you know, nations are forged in blood. So if they manage to actually keep everything but the Donbass era, that would still be a win. The British only have 29,000 souls in the Navy now. They're pathetic. It's not about manpower. Like it's more about technology. So, and it's also like Britain isn't in a state of war, right? So like, if you have the technology, if you have the military gear, in the case of a military conflict, you start drafting, and then you have the numbers. The negative for us is we're spending all our money on something we don't need. I mean, I think like the US in the conflict with Russia, they're more interested in the situation with China and Taiwan. Like they don't want a situation where Russia and China ally with each other, and then China takes Taiwan. The thing with Taiwan is that it's one of the world's largest chip manufacturers, so it produces like 90% of the chips on the world. That means everything that goes in a smartphone, everything that goes in a computer, a car, everything that is going into military tech, right? And on top of that, it's also one of the world's biggest trade routes, so you can use it to put economic pressure. If Taiwan falls, it is the end of the US empire. Like, it is the end of the Western way of life. So they can't afford to allow Taiwan to fall. And I do think that what they're doing with Russia right now is to make sure that they don't have a situation where they're going to fight off both China and Russia for Taiwan. That is my take, right? Because I can't fathom another reason. China couldn't take Taiwan without Taiwan destroying their cheap fabs. Yeah, like China knows that. But it's not about that. It's more like the Americans don't have it, right? And since the Americans are a lot more advanced than China, then China doesn't lose that much in that situation. But still, I think it's unlikely for China to actually try to take Taiwan. But it's still on the table. Like it's not something that's impossible, but it's something that is unlikely. Anyway, right, so I'll leave it here. I know that Chris just joined. Unfortunately, I'm just leaving. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate it. And I'm going to go now to make the video.